students, welcome back to our next video of separation techniques. Today we will be seeing the separation of solid liquid mixtures, and in this the first method is filtration, and here we have the example of calcium carbonate separated from water. Okay, so calcium carbonate is the insoluble component. It will be collected in the filter paper and water will be collected in the receiver. So this is a simple technique of separation of an insoluble solid from water. Coming to the next technique, we have sedimentation, and in sedimentation we have the example of separation of sand and water. So when we take this mixture in a beaker, we are going to leave it for some time. So due to gravity, what will happen? The sand particles and all the suspended particles are going to settle down. Then very carefully, without disturbing the lower settled layer, we are going to pour this solution into another beaker. This process is called as decantation, and we will be able to separate sand from water. Next method is evaporation. Third method is evaporation. In evaporation, we are going to see the example of salt and water, that is sodium chloride and water. So we are going to take this mixture in an evaporating dish. We are going to heat it. So what will happen? Water will escape out and sodium chloride will be left behind in the evaporating dish. Fourth method is distillation. In distillation, we have the example again of salt and water. Again we are taking this mixture in the distillation flask and we are going to heat it. So when we are going to heat it, what will happen? Water vapors will rise, they will move inside the condenser and water will be collected in the receiver and salt will be left behind in the round bottom flask or in the distillation flask. So in distillation, the difference between evaporation and distillation is that in distillation we can separate both the components and collect them separately, whereas in evaporation we are able to collect only the salt and water vapor escapes out as water vapor. So to summarize the separation of solid liquid mixtures, what were the four methods? Filtration was the first method, and in this we had the example of calcium carbonate being separated from water. Second method was sedimentation. In sedimentation, what was the example? Very simple, sand and water, if you remember, very simple example. Then third we have evaporation. What was the method which we had discussed in evaporation? Example was salt and water. Salt and water, sodium chloride and water. And lastly we had the separation technique, that was distillation. In distillation, again same example you need to remember, that is sodium chloride and water. Okay, the other example which you can remember is separating lead nitrate from water. Okay, so these are the examples for solid liquid mixtures. Moving to the next type of mixtures, we have liquid mixtures. So it means we are separating two liquids. Now very important from the examination point of view, you can get diagrammatic based questions where a diagram can be given and you might be asked to name the apparatus. So this apparatus you need to remember is called the separating funnel. Very important. And in this funnel we are taking the example of oil and water. Now oil and water, they form immiscible liquids. What do we understand by immiscible liquids? Immiscible liquids, they form separate layers, they don't mix into each other, and due to difference in densities, oil being lighter will float on top of water, and when we are going to open this tap, what will happen? Water will be collected in the receiver and oil will be left behind. So what are the two things which you need to remember for separating funnel? That the given liquids are immiscible and they have difference in their densities. So immiscibility and densities are the two important aspects which you will remember for the separation of oil and water in liquid mixture. Second method is fractional distillation. Okay, so in fractional distillation, we have the example of miscible liquids. Now, what are miscible liquids? Miscible liquids are those which mix into each other, but they have difference in their boiling points. So, miscible liquids, you need to remember the example of methyl alcohol and water, and methyl alcohol has a lower boiling point as compared to water. Water, we all know, has a boiling point of 100 degrees Celsius. So here, when we are going to take the mixture and heat it, what will happen? Methyl alcohol having lower boiling point as compared to water, its vapors will rise, it will move in the condenser, and alcohol will be collected in the receiver, whereas water will be left behind because water has a higher boiling point as compared to the methyl alcohol. So again, what two important points you need to remember for fractional distillation? That the liquids are miscible, they mix into each other, but there is difference in their boiling points. So the separation technique over here depends upon the difference in their boiling points, and due to difference in boiling points, we are able to separate the two miscible liquids. So in liquid mixtures, two methods are there only. First is separating funnel, example is of oil and water, and second method is fractional distillation. We have the example of methyl alcohol and water. So please go through it and try to understand, and in the next video we will be discussing the liquid gas mixture and gas mixture. Thank you, students.